Welcome to the Modern Stock Car Cup Tour and race number 2 out of 28 in season number 3. We are here from Homestead, Miami Speedway for the running of the Royal Caribbean 400. Of course, this name has had some different names over the years. In our 3 seasons, it's had 3 separate race sponsors for each time that it came to the racetrack in the Modern Stock Car Cup Tour. In Season 1, we had the Ford EcoBoost 400, and you can see on our flag stand on the left side of your screen, those Ford graphics are still there. In Season 2, we had the Lennar 400. Some people decide to use the Lennar 400 as an example of one of the greatest MSCCT races of that year, and personally, I agree. This track has always been a spectacle to watch. We had 2 events here, and neither of them disappointed last year. The second race was the Lennar 400, as we said, and that was an absolute thriller. And we got our first ever part-time driver as a winner, which would be Jack Husky, who won in the number 18 Ford for the All-Star Speed Team, who, of course, could have had a champion of their own with Darian Arnsdorf, but that eventually did not happen because your pole sitter today, Ryan Adema, is your Season 2 champion. He won at this track. Not only did he get the most points out of everybody else, he also won the championship race, which sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't. Sometimes you just have to basically say, okay, out of these drivers who are in contention, who had the best finishing position? Because remember, when it comes to the championship lottery, the drivers who are eligible for it, their points are reset so that everybody's on an equal playing field. So that's essentially how that would have worked. So it didn't matter if you won almost every single race going into it. You know, if you wrecked out at the championship race, then you wouldn't have a chance of being crowned the champion at the end of the day. But this is his 4th career pole and his 2nd on an intermediate. His other 2 have been on super speedways and short tracks. So we're going to see how he does today, but to his outside is his first career outside pole. That will be Brennan Wilmington in the number 62. Pacific Racing looking for a bounce back after a disappointing start to the season at the American Airlines 500, where Brennan and others DNF'd, and even Nelson Reeves had a controversial DNF because he barely had any damage on his car, but he did not continue. He elected to go into the garage after having some gear problems. After being involved in that late wreck with Daniel Rivera and all the rest, he lost 4th gear. And when you lose 4th gear, that's essentially the end of your contending days as a driver in that race, because when you lose your 1st gear or your 2nd gear, then you can just stay in the high gears. But when you lose your highest gear, you're essentially relegating yourself to the slow lane for the rest of the event. But as I was saying before, 3 different seasons, 3 different events, 3 different race sponsors. Season 2 was the Lennar 400, and this year is the Royal Caribbean 400. They're sponsoring this race for the 2nd event of the 3rd season. Of course, Ian Korob, who won the 1st race of the year and his 3rd career win, he's starting right around the 12th position today. He's not near the front, but he's not near the back, so we'll see how he does. But also making his MSCCT debut is Ronnie Martin in the 29, who's going to be starting 10th today inside the top 10. That'll be a good way to start your MSCCT career. We still have not had a single driver who has won in their 1st career race, but let's be honest, that's a really difficult feat to do. But when you're starting from the 10th position, I think that makes your odds a little bit better, especially since we saw Eli Sasak lead over 5 laps in his 1st career race, but he didn't come home with the victory. That was Arthur Xavier's 1st career and only career victory, which was at the Figure 8 Derby in season number 2. And of course, Ryan Adema finished 2nd in that race in one of the wildest finishes of the entire season. So we'll see how this race plays out, because this is not a dirt track. This is no Figure 8 Derby. This is a 1.5 mile intermediate track where I'm expecting a lot of spins and I'm expecting a lot of action here. We have 42 cars on the field. Ryan Adema first, Logan Williams last. We'll see how it plays out over these 81 laps of racing from the Royal Caribbean 400. With that being said, let's take a look at Creed Daniels' view for the driver command in race number 2 of the MSCCT Season 3.
Drivers, start your engines!
All right, boys, just like we talked about in the meeting, what's going to pay off for us today is patience and consistency. Good good, smooth racing on the racetrack, and that's what'll take us up to the front. We'll be there at the end of this thing.
Let's take a look at the starting lineup. Row number 1, we have Ryan Adema and Brennan Wilmington. Row number 2, we have Creed Daniel and Carlos Rex. Row 3, we have Sarah Fang and Amelia Nielsen. Row 4, we have Santiago Alvarez and Armin Salvador. Row 5, we have Ryan Martin and Jacob Thibodeau. Row 6, we have Darian Arnsdorf and Chase Buck. Row 7, we have AA 500 winner Ian Korob and Kyle Driscoll. Row 8, we have Christian Coppola and Luis Aguilar. Row number 9, we have Nolo Hamilton and Nelson Reeves. Row 10, we have Logan Thronberg and Matthew Green. Row 11, we have Chris Lattimore and Dan Wilkins. Row 12, we have Daniel Rivera and Ward Burton. Row 13, we have Hunter Walker and Richard Birmingham. Row number 14, we have Leland Hill and Riley Wedge. Row 15, we have Callan Fleming and Jesse Owens Jr. Row 16, we have Brandon Allen and Charlotte Kelly, teammates. Row number 17, we have Sam Joseph and Jackson Snyder. Row 18, we have JJU and Adeline Galvin. Row 19, we have Harold Altrip and Patrick Starr. Row number 20, we have Donna Wilkins and John McFadden. And in row number 21, to wrap it up, we have Molly Fleming and Logan Williams. 81 laps of racing. Ryan Adema, this is his own track, you know. The native of Fort Myers, Florida, this is the closest cup track to him. You might say, well, hey, maybe Daytona's a little bit closer, but this is the track that he excels at. He really did good here last year, and he, of course, won the championship race in the final event of Season 2. Does he do it again? We have a green flag from the Royal Caribbean 400. We got 81 laps to find out. They're 4 wide back in that second row. You can see going into one here, they just dissipated, but it was very close to being a bad wreck. I mean, look at this. The 2 Virginia Beach Motorsports cars, Armin Salvador and Sarah Fang, they are bumping and banging. Look at this. Oh, and we're going to see a spin. Amelia Nielsen and Carlos Rex are in the wall. And that brings out our first caution on lap number 3. Look at that pace car coming out there in quick fashion. But yeah, I mean, I'm not that surprised. When we saw them go 4 wide off the backstretch into turn number 3, I honestly don't think that it was... I don't think that it was... that clear to me how long it was going to last. But let's take a look specifically at what happened, because you can see out in front there is Ryan Adema in the 92 and Creed Daniel. They're out in no man's land. You got a big gap between second and third here, and they all just essentially are bunched up, because there is on the inside, there's Armin Salvador and Sarah Fang, 2 teammates of Virginia Beach Motorsports, with Fang being the team owner and Salvador jumping on board mid-season last year. He's done pretty well with them. Regardless, you can see they're all bunched together with room on the inside and room there outside. You don't think they can spread out a little bit and, you know, maybe try to make some room? Because Jacob Thibodeau is trying to get in on the inside, and Brennan Wilmington is trying to push the 14. So as you can see, as we go frame by frame here, you can see they do make room. They could go 5 wide if Carlos Rex wasn't sliding up the track. So he goes up into the wall right here. Let's go to the 27th view. So they're up in the wall, and they spin, and he collects a little bit of Brady Wilmington, so he gets him a little bit of damage, but he ends up... I mean, the good thing about us is that it's a 2-car wreck, and they didn't catch anybody else up. So they ended up getting, you know, bunched into the wall, but the good news is that there wasn't any further repercussions, and probably, I'd say that Carlos Rex and Amelia Nielsen are going to stay in the race, because they only have a little bit of damage on, you know, their cars respectively, so we'll have to see what happens. But with that being said, let's take a look at Amelia Nielsen's view on that number 27 car. And then again, same thing this time, but with the 14 of Carlos Rex. So if anything, that's just a minor scrape-up, and they're going to end up being in 27th and 28th, it looks like. Or no, they're actually being readjusted on my board, so... yeah, they're going to be in 42nd and 41st, but regardless, it looks like there were some pit stops that went on. Let's take a look at that. Did some folks go to pit lane? Yeah, you can see right here, I'd say about 4 cars stayed out. Okay. So that makes it a little bit clearer now as to what was going on. So, it looks like out of that group of cars that went to pit lane, 4 of them stayed out. There's Nelson Reeves, Christian Coppola, Chris Lattimore, who is making his first start after failing to qualify last race, and Adeline Galvin of Lime Rock Motorsports. And Armin Salvador beat out Ryan Adamo on pit lane. And where in the world is Creed Daniel, you might ask? Well, he is all the way back in 8th, behind Thibodeau. So he was leading before, but now that's all out the window. And even though it's still early, we still have over 70 laps to go in this event. You have to wonder, Nelson Reeves is on a long winless streak. He's never won a race in the MSCCT, but he's gotten so close so many times. He was really close in his first ever race with Pacific Racing. I remember after the dilemma that had happened mid-season, he started out at Charlotte with Pole Position Racing, which was a team that he co-owned with Lithuanian driver Kęstutis Ramonas. But after Kęstutis Ramonas decided to withdraw, he essentially formed his own team, essentially Pole Position Racing Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. He essentially made his own franchise, started in the number 17 Dodge for 2 races, sponsored by Dockside Logistics, which is the same company that sponsors the 52, as of right now, is their primary sponsor for Armin Salvador on that hood, you can see right there. But Reeves, was all over the place. He didn't do that good at Phoenix. He ended up actually wrecking out at Phoenix, and the race after at Las Vegas, he didn't do too good either. So after that, for the following race at Sonoma, his last start, he made 3 starts in a 17 car. The last one was at Sonoma Raceway, the one that Luis Aguilar won in his first career win. So he ended up signing a deal with Pacific Racing because Nelson Reeves knew that he wanted to go to a talented team, and he didn't want to own a team. So Brennan Wilmington reached out and said, hey, you want to race for me? I'll give you a car, and you'll be our 4th car since, we had to let go of another guy. That's essentially how I look at it. But in his first race, he actually led for a little bit at Canadian Tire. That was his first race in Bowmanville, Ontario. And he ended up leading for a bit. And even though he didn't win that day, and he still hasn't won, he's been a competitive driver and a fan favorite among them. So, I got to give him that. He's a very popular driver, and he's got a lot of respect in the garage. But enough said about that. We got a green flag on lap number 7. But even though Reeves has been all over the place, he's been able to stay consistent. Let's look at Christian Coppola jumping to the inside of Reeves. Off of 2 there. Adeline Galvin and Ryan Adama. They're all forming a second line on the inside. As Coppola trying to get up to the middle line. And now Adeline Galvin coming to the inside. And Christian Coppola is going to lead that first lap following the restart, lap number 8. Now Nelson Reeves is going up the track. He makes contact with Chris Lattimore. They're 5 wide. Oh my gosh, they're 5 wide. And we have a spin on the back. Chris Lattimore. Oh, hard hit. Ward Burton. We have the big one in turn number 4. And Ward Burton goes over and over. A terrible crash for Ward Burton, as he flips on his lid and lands on his side and then gets hit by Darian Arnsdorf. Oh my. A terrible crash just on the restart, but I had a feeling it was coming because, hey, they were going 5 wide on the backstretch, and you can't do that. That is no bueno. So let's take a look at the 10 car of Nelson Reeves. As you can see, take a screenshot of that. Take a screen cap of that. I'm going to bring out my iPhone 10 and just take a picture of that. Because that is insane. Because the fact that they still have room for like 2 more cars on the outside. That shows how jam-packed Homestead Miami Speedway is. And this is the perfect epitome of that. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, 5 wide. There's Nelson Reeves, Chris Lattimore, Jacob Thibodeau, Kyle Driscoll, and Sarah Fang. They are all bunched up. And then what happens is that one of them has to give, because the straightaway is not as wide as the corner. It's just like at Talladega, where if you're coming off a turn 4 and you're 4 wide, something's got to give, and you have to consolidate your pack because of the fact that it bottlenecks from 5 lanes into 4, and you have to essentially give something up. Something has to give. This is exactly what it is here. It's a lot wider in the corner than it is on the straightaway. So with that being said, you can see, if we get a better camera angle, you see the 10 gets into the 67, and then he just spins around, and it looks like nothing else is going to happen as a result of it. It's just going to be, oh, it's a single car spin, nothing bad. And then while that's happening, Nolo Hamilton gets pushed, and then that creates a chain reaction, because here's innocent old Ward Burton on the outside getting jam-packed into there by, that would be Chris Lattimore. And there's spinning and sliding, and then Arnsdorf gets up into the wall. There's JJU in the 5 car. And then they're all piling up. There's, I think that's the 99 of Darrell Waltrip slamming into the 33 of Nolo Hamilton. And they're all getting up there. They're all sliding like crazy. And then Ward Burton goes over, slams into Sam Joseph. He actually went over a few cars, which... oh my goodness. I mean, just wow. I don't think this camera angle does it justice, to be honest. Let's take a look at, I think this is a good example here. So, watch this in super slow-mo. Over the 67. He's in the air. There's the 89 on his side. He goes over the 89. Literally flips over some cars, and then proceeds to flip some more. With that being said, let's take a look from the hood, or actually from the cockpit of the number 22 of Ward Burton, since this is a wild ride. Buckle up. My, oh my. I think we got a few more looks to take a gander at. We are going to take a look at the number 67 of Chris Lattimore. So while we're at it, let's take a look at his hood camera. Oh my. I'm telling you folks, right there. Right there. Having them fly over your car, that's gotta be a screen cap for the ages. Man. What a wreck. And what a shame. As we're gonna be going green this time by, are they in turns 1 or 2? Can't tell what turns they're in. Okay, they're coming off of turn 2. I couldn't tell at first. Christian Coppola is in the lead. Ryan Adema's back in second. Nelson Reeves is still in this thing. Because it wasn't Nelson's fault for the fact that he ended up, getting involved in that wreck. It was the fact that Chris Lattimore came up on him and ended up, jamming him into the wall. And also, because of the not-so-subtle fact that they were 5 wide coming off of turn number 2, and you can't do that at Daytona, let alone Homestead. Your top 10 at this moment is Christian Coppola, Ryan Adema, Creed Daniel, Armin Salvador, Adeline Galvin, Nelson Reeves, Sarah Feng, Chase Buck, Kyle Driscoll, and Luis Aguilar. Right now, only 24 cars remain on the track. We'll get back to how many cars ended up going to the garage as a result of that huge wreck on lap number 8. But it's behind us now, and I think it's time to get back to racing. That Polar Soda neon pink Chevrolet has a chance to win this one, but we still got a long way to go because we have a green flag back in the air on lap number 13. And Christian Coppola is slowing down. He's out of gas. We're getting word that it actually wasn't out of gas. His engine just died. He lost power in the car, and he can't get it to go. So now he's relying on that clutch now to keep him going. And Adeline Galvin will jump from 5th to 1st to lead her first ever lap in the Modern Stock Car Cup Tour. Congratulations. Although that might not last long. That congratulations might be rescinded by Ryan Adema, who's going to be really coming into the inside, really coming in aggressive. And we have another wreck back here. Dan Wilkins is around and gets pounded by the... Okay, he got really hit hard by the 46 car of Callan Fleming. And we're under caution for a 3rd time as this continues to be somewhat of a wreck fest as Adema reclaims his lead. Apologizing for my word choice there. That was a rather interesting caution because of the fact that nothing, you know, it was a spin, but then the 00 car was able to get back going ASAP. So let's take a look at what happened here from Super Slow-Mo. So obviously, the 80 of Kyle Driscoll gets into him. There's Armin Salvador right there, and the caution comes out right as he goes like past 90 degrees is when they bring out the caution. And yeah, he was able to get back going, and then Callan Fleming right into the back of him. I think she's... Yeah, you can see the smoke coming out of her car as a result of that. Let's take a look from the hood of the number 00 of Dan Wilkins. He gets involved in his 2nd wreck of the year because he did get involved with a minor tangle-up with Sarah Feng during the midway point of the American Airlines 500. Regardless, let's take a look. I just want to take a quick gander at the back view because obviously this is what Molly Fleming ends up getting involved in. It's like a jump scare. I mean, no, it really is. That's what it feels like. Christian Coppola is still on pit lane after he lost power in his car. That's what we're hearing. We do have some cars going to pit lane, but Chase Buck is going to get the lead back. If you remember, Chase Buck was driving this exact number 19 Toyota when he completed one of the greatest comeback stories in MSCCT history. What had happened was that he had started on the outside pole, then a caution came out quickly, and then when the green flag waved on lap number 8, he had to go to pit lane. He had to serve a black flag penalty. So he ended up going a lap down, and after a few more cautions, remember there were 3 total cautions in the race, he ended up having really bad timing because he was done serving his black flag and he was trying to get back onto the pace of the track when a big caution came out involving Jacob Thibodeau and Ethan Mitchell in one of the first flips or one of the most popular flips in league history, where Jacob Thibodeau went headfirst into the catch fence on lap number 12 as a result of Ethan Mitchell's contact. He went into the catch fence, and then Chase Buck was able to get on the lead lap because of a wave round. So he was at the back of the pack, and he wasn't really doing anything. And then on lap 63 of that race, because at the time, the MSCCT had longer races. So instead of an 81 lap event like this, the actual event was 107 laps. Regardless, he got back on the lead lap. Then a caution came out after Santiago Alvarez, who's currently running in 3rd position, ended up getting slammed into the wall by Arthur Xavier in a very vicious lick that, makes me thankful for the safer barriers. But in any case, then the field comes down pit road. Chase Buck and his team have been known for good pit strategy. So when the time comes around, he makes a good pit stop and moves at least 15 spots up. So now that some of the field is out, and now that, he's in contention, he ended up leading a few laps after he was a lap down ended up coming back and finished in the top 10. Didn't win the race, but he led at least 10 laps, and that was something that he was really proud of because it was just his second race with ARE at the time. It was actually called ABR because it was Adama Buck Racing. But then they split in the off-season, mutually, and it's now Buck Racing with Chase and Luis Aguilar. Although Aguilar does have somewhat of a co-ownership stake in the team. Don't ask me how complex that is, but now Ryan's got his own team, and it's a 4-car team. Because ARE is looking a lot different than it did last year. Last year, that 4-car lineup was Ryan Adama, Chase Buck, Doug Doering, and who was that 4th car? Gosh darn it, who was that 4th car that I'm thinking of? It was Aguilar, Chase, Ryan, and Doug Doering. There you go. Chase Buck, who won a race at Atlanta, that was his first career win, and his only career win at this time. He won the SunTrust 400 in a very, very eventful finish. And then Ryan had 3 wins. Doug Doering had 2. One at Pocono and one at Texas. Luis had 2 wins at Sonoma and Flemington. And we have a green flag back in the air. Wow, Chase Buck's getting a really good advantage in the number 19 car. Let's just hope this race isn't as much of a wreck fest as it's been so far for these last 60 laps or so, as here comes Kyle Driscoll on the inside. I think since we've got our big one out of the way, then maybe the cautions will dissipate, but it wasn't like it was last year because, you know, in our second race of Season 2, they're 3 wide down the back, my goodness. You know, it was a little bit different. We had a caution on lap number 3, which wasn't too different from this year. Oh, they're 4 wide. Oh, my. Chase Buck is starting to fall back a little bit, but it looks like Adama might take the lead away to the line really close, but Driscoll does not hang on. He's in second. Going into 3, here's Alvarez. Oh, they're look at this, 5 wide again. Galvin and Reeves decide to let it go. Really good battle for the lead right now. Up front, you can see Santiago Alvarez, Ryan Adama, and Kyle Driscoll all at it. Kyle Driscoll does not have his first career win. He came close a few times, especially at some short tracks, like he did pretty good at the first Bristol race, which was Ian Korob's first career win. But he hasn't been able to get it because Shock Motorsports wasn't doing so good last year. Now they're rebounding. Now they're doing different things, and now they're in a different position. I'd argue they're in a better position than they were just a few months ago. And Santiago Alvarez, you know, he formed his own team. He was released by Dan Wilkins Racing. Look at that 19-car Chase Buck starting to slide up the track a little bit, but he was released by Dan Wilkins Racing at the end of the season. Many people decided to essentially give Alvarez the title of the most highly regarded 3 agent of the season, because people were like, this guy won 2 races, he was almost in the Champions Lottery, how could, you know, DWR even dare to release him? But it was for a lot of different reasons, because they wanted to start fresh. They already had Ian Corab on the team. You know, they were planning on releasing the 60 car at the end of the year, so if you're going to start with 2 drivers, why not make 2 openings? And that's exactly what he did. And he made it a little bit more family-centered when he signed the number 13 of Donna Wilkins to a deal. But then he also decided to sign Callan Fleming as well, and make it basically one of the most dominant Ford teams out there. And they've already shown the fact that they're one of the best Ford teams out there, because they've already won a race this year, and they won a whole bunch of races last year. It's kind of proven that Ford is one of the top 2 manufacturers in this organization. You might argue that Dodge is the second best, or Toyota is the second best. It's obviously not Chevy, because Chevy only got 3 wins last year. Chevy only got 3 wins out of the entire bunch. Ford and Toyota were a lot more dominant. And even, I shouldn't even say that, Ford and Dodge were a lot more dominant. Which is why that it seemed a little bit confusing when Dan Wilkins Racing decided to switch over. Oh, we got to spin on the back. Excuse me, that's the front stretch. Luis Aguilar and Jacob Thibodeau. They tangle up. And that brings out our 4th caution of the night. Take a look. So, we were talking about all these manufacturers. Well, we got a Chevy and Dodge in this one. So, let's take a look from Super Slow-Mo. I think it's pretty cut and dry right here. Aguilar just hooks the 87, and he doesn't let go, and he doesn't let go, and go, and go, and go into the inside wall. Wow. That was a hard hit as he crossed the start-finish line. But it looks like Aguilar's okay. Not sure about Thibodeau and how he's going to stay in this race, but let's take a look at the number 87 of Jacob Thibodeau and his roof cam that brings out our 4th caution of the night. Ooh, hard hit. Hard hit. Although I've seen worse hits. I mean, he did a full... Thing is, he did a full 360 and then he was able to get going. So I can't blame him. Coppola's still on pit lane. He's in 25th, 13 laps down, and I doubt that he's going to get back on the track. We got yellow flag pit stops on lap number 29. Man, this is a long going race. We're a half hour in, and we haven't even crossed the halfway mark of this. I mean, this might be a long one. Let's take a look at the pit lane camera, see who wins the race off pit road. Don't think Adama's going to get it, and I don't think Creed Daniel's going to get it either. And Creed Daniel will win the race off pit road, although Ryan's going to lose some spots. There's Kyle Driscoll and Santiago Alvarez, his former teammate, Chase. And he's going to get out right behind Leland Hill and JJU. Let's watch the rest of the race off pit road. And there you go. 4 cautions in the first 30 laps. It's definitely not how I expected this race to go. Although, Santiago Alvarez having problems. He's way down there. He's supposed to be in 2nd. He's supposed to be in P2. And he's not even on the pit line because you can see the 7 and the 11 car. They're the ones on the pit line. And you can see he missed pit road there. Now he's getting back up to speed, but again, he's not. It makes me wonder if he has something wrong with the car and he's not saying it. Maybe if he has something wrong with the car, he doesn't want to interfere with this top line here. Let's take a look and see if we can hear anything. Sounds like something's wrong with the engine. I don't know, does the 80 car sound any different? Yeah, it sounds like there's something wrong with the 16's engine. We'll see if he goes to pit lane this time by, because this would be really, really interesting to see how it plays out. He's running at a steady 55 miles an hour. And I think he will be going to pit lane. Let's see. Yeah, he's going to go to pit lane. I didn't understand why he didn't do that the first time. Because it wouldn't have been considered illegal pit entry, since that's not the entrance of pit lane. That's just a separate pit line that you take under caution. Because Homestead has really weird pit entrance and exits. So you can see that inside line is always a weird one. But you wouldn't get, you wouldn't get bopped for having an illegal pit entry unless you joined at a different point other than, that point off of turn 4 or off of the backstretch going into turn 3. So here's this pit stall in front of Thibodeau. Let's see. Okay, he's just going to get some work done. I have a feeling that something was wrong with his engine, and I don't know. I'm not one to speculate. I'm not the car expert, which is ironic considering I'm doing broadcasting of cars. But with 51 laps to go in the Royal Caribbean 400, Creed Daniel leads, and the rest of your top 10 is as follows. Kyle Driscoll, Chase Buck, Leland Hill, Ryan Adema, Santiago Alvarez, JJU, Dan Wilkins, Adeline Galvin, and Daniel Rivera, despite not having a front hood, will be running in the 10th position. That's mainly because we have 24 cars on track, and we still have over half of the race, well over half the race left. Jackson Snyder will be lining up on the inside line, 2 laps down. Molly Fleming's at the back, 6 laps down. And, of course, Christian Coppola's on pit lane, 16 laps down. So we'll see how it works out for Santiago Alvarez. Is he still on pit lane? Oh, there he is. He's lining up at the back of the pack. So he will be most likely restarting in the 22nd position, regardless. Creed Daniel leads, looking for his 2nd career win. Green flag on lap number 32, 50 to go. Man, this is a long race. And look at Jackson Snyder falling back. Really falling back. This is really going to split up the pack, I think. The lap traffic is really going to split up the pack. That's my opinion. Let's take a look. You can see Daniel. Look at how slow Rivera's going and the rest of that pack. Rivera was in 10th, but because of the fact that he can't get Jackson Snyder off of him. You know, he's like a whiny kid at a birthday party. He's all up in your face. He's right in front of you. And you can't just ignore him because you have problems with you too. And you can't get it fixed. That's my take. So you can see Rivera is now falling back. But he's, even with no front hood, he's going to be able to pass Jackson Snyder with ease. So what the heck was that all about? Kyle Driscoll back in the lead. He's going to be battling with Creed Daniel here. Your top 5, I should say your top 4, since they're the ones in the front pack. It's a Dodge, Toyota, and Toyota. And look at Adema running up the track a little bit. His former teammate is going to get a door to open on the inside line. Now Creed Daniel becomes the new challenger on the inside. He was running the outside. Now he's going to be switching lanes, switching sides. And he's going to retake that lead. Creed Daniel only has 1 career win. He has 2 in the MSCSS, but only 1 in the top division. He won the Southern 500 last year, race number 4. By absolutely dominating, leading over 95% of the laps. It was an absolute just blowout. He still holds the record for the largest margin of victory in league history with 9.66 seconds. That's the record, as the 2nd place driver Patrick Starr ended up being almost half a lap down by the time he was done. Of course, you can't really get much of a 9.66 second margin or larger on an intermediate like this, although you probably can on Darlington, especially when there's, you know, I don't know, 16 cars on track. That was an interesting thing about that race, is that there were 8 cautions, and it was absolute insanity from that race. And it was again during that old format where the races were longer, so that, you know, it was a lot more laps than it is now. As it was 147 laps, and he led 142 of them. He basically, I believe, he also even led part of the season in laps led. In fact, I believe he's also in the top 5 of last season for most laps led. So take that as you will, but right now he's doing pretty good. But Ryan Adema is right behind him in 2nd, and he's got a charge. Told you he's got a charge. He's in the lead, and Creed's back in third. Although Chase Buck might be trying to clear him of it. Although Ryan clears Chase of that first position. Lap number 40 now. I'm telling you, it's a long race. Even I'm not 100% up here. I mean, I'm just... Whew. Was not expecting this race to be so much different from last year because it's the same track, it's the same setup. You know, I would have thought that, oh, maybe it's different. Oh, look at this. Jackson Snyder is going to hold up everybody, and it's going to allow Adeline Galvin to storm her way in the second. It's going to hold up Charlotte Kelly the most, though, as even Leland Hill, who was really far back, is now going to shake up the field. And now that basically sends everybody into a single file bunch. Look at Adeline Galvin now in second. Now, 40 laps to go. We are at the halfway point. Oh, now they've met with ARE driver Logan Thronberg. How about that? And now Chase is going to get back in the second, and Creed Daniel and Adeline Galvin were working together for a little bit there. As this, you know, sort of slow driver stuff might be the new norm. Although that is debatable. Chase Buck getting back in second there. Adeline Galvin, this would be a really good win for Lime Rock Motorsports. They have not gotten a single win in the top division so far ever since they made their own team. Ever since Amelia Nielsen left Virginia Beach Motorsports to make her own thing, when she switched to the number 27 car, started adding on assets and everything like that, you know, that's when everything changed. I personally thought at the beginning of the season that Lime Rock Motorsports was going to be a force to be reckoned with. They were going to be a multi-win contender each year, you know, year in and year out. But that, of course, is not guaranteed. In no sense of the word is their success guaranteed. Because if they don't make the changes that they need to, you know, as time goes on, then they're just going to become a relic of the past. And let's be honest here, because they haven't gotten a win yet, I think that gives their fans a little bit of doubt in how they're going to do this year. But they have 4 drivers. Amelia Nielsen, or excuse me, they have 3 full-time drivers. Will Fasano is a part-time. Amelia Nielsen, Adeline Galvin, and Molly Fleming. Call it the Powerpuff Girls, if you will, because it's an all-girl team. Now, of course, you know, it's interesting that we're seeing, you know, all this diversity in the league. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest here. I think the MSCCT has more diversity than NASCAR. I'll be completely honest. That's how it kind of feels. Because we have 9 women driving for us. There's now another slower car, Brandon Allen, native of Milton, West Virginia. He'll be coming up on him. Brandon Allen is the last car on the lead lap. He's in 20th. Logan Thronberg is 1 lap down. Jackson Snyder is 3. Molly Fleming's 15, and Christian Koppel is 32 laps down, as Chase Buck is going to take the lead as he decides to take Ryan Adema for his own. Now that pack is getting all bunched up again. They're 3 wide with Adema just sticking his tongue out on that outside line and trying to, you know, get some leverage. As he's on that outside line. Even Creed Daniel hit the apron a little bit. Adeline Galvin now running in the 3rd position, although battling for 2nd with Driscoll. But now Chase Buck gets to expand his lead because on that last lap, he was a 1/4 second ahead of everybody. And now that expands by over 1/10 of a second. He's now 0.36 seconds in front of everybody else. But of course, do we have another lapped challenger? Yep, Jackson Snyder once again, and it looks like even Daniel Rivera looks like he could be an issue for some of those guys. I mean, he is on the lead lap, but you never know. But that lead does look like it's shrinking a little bit. Let's see how it changes on this top left corner here. See how it changes. 0.36 and 0.20. That changed by almost 0.2 of a second. So let's see how they do versus Snyder. He goes to the high side. And Adema gets held up. Gets held up really bad. And oh my! Adeline Galvin, who originally looked like she was going to have a good run against Snyder, gets caught up in the dust. But, I mean, I can't really control it that much. I can't, you know, black flag the AI manually and say, okay, you know, you're blocking the lead lap competitors. Because how it would be in real life is that you would see a blue and yellow crossed flag on the starter stand when you crossed the line if you were a slower car. And when the leaders were coming, that would essentially be an order for you to move out of the way and, you know, to give some room to the other leaders. Also, Kyle Driscoll, this is a little bit of a hometown campaign for him. He's from Florida. He's specifically, as far as I know, he's from Tallahassee, Florida. We have actually 3 Floridian drivers that we know of. There's Ryan Adema from Fort Myers, who's running in the 3rd position, although he is going to fall to 4th. We have Logan Thronberg, who is currently running in the 20th position, 1 lap down. He is from Tampa, and then we also have Kyle Driscoll, who's from Tallahassee, Florida. Can't pronounce Floridian town names. That's a new one. I mean, if you thought town names were weird in Florida, you know, Ryan told me in one of his pre-race interviews about how there's a lot of forts in Florida. Fort Myers, Fort Lauderdale. Guess you could say Fort Knox. There's only one that I know of in New Jersey, which is Fort Dix, which is up in the central part of the state. But a lot of the town names up in the northeastern U.S. are hard to pronounce. Like here in New Jersey, we have Gloucester City and Gloucester Township. But if you were to give it to anybody else, because there's also a Gloucester, Massachusetts, as Ryan Adema retakes the lead. But if you were to tell anybody to pronounce Gloucester, Gloucester, they would probably say Gloucester, or, you know, oh, Chase Buck slowing down. He's going to be going to pit lane. And he's going to slide up the track and miss the pit lane, the entry for it, and he's going to just readjust and reconvene. Is he going to be able to get in? Although he is going to be bopped for a speeding penalty entering pit lane. He was about 15 miles per hour over the limit there. Sorry, Buckaroo, you spit a little bit there. And now Kyle Driscoll will be a taker on pit lane along with Adeline Galvin. Now it'll be 2 men left in that first position battling for a spot. Ryan Adema and Creed Daniel all battling for it. Creed's going to overtake him on lap number 56 and take that spot back. But I think one thing that you also have to consider is that, you know, there's Gloucester, and people might pronounce it like Gloucester or Gloucester or something. As now the 2 leaders are coming in. Creed Daniel and Ryan Adema. Oh, they both overshoot it. They both overshoot that. They are going in way too fast up there for that to be... They're all overshooting it. And we're going to see a spin. Daniel Rivera up there. Do we stay green? Watch the caution light. Do we stay green? We stay green. I think that's a miracle. He was able to save it, and we stay green despite the incident. Let's take a look. You can see right here, Sarah Fang gets up on him, all up in him. And if we take a look, just slams into him, sends him sideways. And he doesn't really, there's nobody really around him. Like, there's Brandon Allen, but he's not even close. So if you see, or actually the caution light is out of view, my apologies. It's in view for me, but it's not in view for you guys. But he was just very close to spinning around, and that didn't really happen. So this will really dissipate the field and bring everyone into their own separate factions. This looks like Charlotte Kelly's giving Ryan Adema a little bit of push, saying, hey, get out of there, get out of there, get out of pit lane, hustle, hustle, hustle. But also, that was a keychain falling from my pocket. Oh, goodness. You also have to consider the fact that when it comes to everything with town names and everything like that, you have to consider the fact that even though this track is called Homestead Miami Speedway, it's nowhere near Miami. It's at least 2 hours north of Miami. But here's the thing. Outside of this racetrack, have you ever heard of Homestead, Florida? If you're a non-Floridian, have you ever heard of Homestead, Florida? The reason why they call it Homestead Miami Speedway is because it's in the physical town of Homestead, but people are going to know it more for that tropical feel, and people are going to know it more for the fact that it's near Miami, at least somewhat. It's in the, it's on the Floridian East Coast, so it's at least somewhat close to Miami, and we have a spin on the front stretch. Jacob Thibodeau, Adeline Galvin, and an acrobatic act by Charlotte Kelly and Ryan Adema ends up splitting him up. The leader is going to be Chase Buck in the 19. He will lead as we go under caution for the 5th time today. Jacob Thibodeau gets involved in his 2nd accident. Let's take a quick gander. Or, yes, up here. Okay, so pretty cut and dry, I think. Is he a lap down? Yes, he was the last car on the lead lap, but he was being lapped as we spoke. So he ended up getting hooked by the 65, ended up getting in the Adeline Galvin. Nothing too crazy. It was like that incident with Dan Wilkins and Calvin Fleming earlier. Nothing too crazy, and it's not going to retire either of these cars unless they have some tire issue or some existential issue outside of this wreck itself. So let's take a look. Like I said, pretty cut and dry. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too out of the box. Regardless, though, it does give this field somewhat of a breather. Because of the fact that we're under caution now with 20 laps to go on the nose. It gives this field some time to breathe. It gives them some time to recuperate and say, okay, while all of this is going on, you get to relax a little bit. Because the field had been dissipated for so long. Green flag pit stops were going on. And, this, that, and the other thing. And now, you get to hit the reset button. You get to say, okay, we had this dissipated field for a while now. Now we're back to square one. Everybody's in one line. Everybody's, tightly packed together in their Dodge, Toyota, Chevy, and Ford quarters, if you want to call it that. And you get to recuperate. Because now with 20 laps to go, you get a new chance at winning. Because let's be honest, after these green flag pit stops, this field was going to dissipate so much that I personally would have known if we would have seen another lead change. But that's besides the point. Because with this field, with the fact that less than half of the field is on the lead lap, we're going to see a fair number of cars lining up on the inside when we go back to green, probably on lap number 65 or 66, which will be around 15 to 16 laps to go. Right now we have 16 cars on the lead lap. We have a fair number of cars that are retired. I'll just go through all of the cars that are retired, where if you're, just joining us on stream and you're a fan of one of the drivers that's out, then I can deliver the news to you. So, going from the bottom to the top, let's take a look at everybody who has been retired from this race as we speak. So that would be Riley Wedge, Logan Williams, Werrell Daltrip, Ward Burton, Brennan Wilmington, Amelia Nielsen, John McFadden, Sam Joseph, Chris Lattimore, Donna Wilkins, Patrick Starr, Jesse Owens Jr., Richard Birmingham, Nolo Hamilton, Matthew Green, Carlos Rex, Darian Arnsdorf, Christian Coppola, Callan Fleming, Santiago Alvarez. Those are all your retirees. And you might notice on the board it says, well, Christian Coppola's still in the race. Well, right now, he's technically in the garage, but he's not retired from the race per se. If you remember around the midway point, his engine died on a restart. He was leading the race, and then his engine died. He didn't have any power in the car, and he had to go to pit lane, and to this point, right now, he has not re-entered the track, and what we're hearing from his team right now is that he's not planning to re-enter the track, so he's you can essentially mark him down as a DNF, but 48 laps down, you can't win from that. Make that 49 laps. So, take that as you will. We are going green next time by, which means that for the 5th time today, we will restart, this time on lap number 65. Since we only have 16 cars on the lead lap, I might as well tell you all of the lead lap cars. From the top to the bottom, here we go. We have Chase Buck, Kyle Driscoll, Creed Daniel, Ryan Adema, Charlotte Kelly, Sarah Fang, Leland Hill, Nelson Reeves, Adeline Galvin, Armin Salvador, Dan Wilkins, JJU, Hunter Walker, Luis Aguilar, Ronnie Martin, and Ian Korob. And then your lapped cars are Thibodeau, Allen, and Thronberg, who are lapped down. Daniel Rivera, who's 2 laps down. Jackson Snyder, who's 4 laps down. Molly Fleming, who is 22 laps down, started last today, and we'll be finishing at least in the top 30. And then Christian Coppola, who's on pit lane, technically in the race, but not really. He's just sitting in his pit stall, trying to get his engine to work, and they only have a few laps to get it working before everything just decides to go to crap, so take that as you will. But we have 5 or 6 cars lining up on the inside. You can see, that's 6 cars precisely lining up on the inside line. But Chase Buck will look for his 2nd career win. He got one in Atlanta last year. Does he get one in Florida this year? Coming back to the stripe, lap number 65 is going to be in the books. We are underway once again from Homestead. Kyle Driscoll is going to give him a good run. We'll see how good it ends up being. Back to the line. Driscoll really ended up closing that gap since Chase had a good start. I don't know if he jumped the start or if everybody else spun their tires, but Chase ended up having a really good restart, and now the opposite is happening because you got a train on the inside of Driscoll, Adema, and Creed. And they're all going to work against Chase. As they're 3 wide off of 4. Kyle Driscoll back in the lead. And Adema, who did not finish the American Airlines 500, he was involved in that late wreck with Kyle Driscoll, Carlos Rex, and Daniel Rivera, along with others. But he ended up getting caught up in that and didn't finish the race. Now he's looking for his first finished race of the season. And he's looking for his 4th career win, which would tie the all-time wins record, since he has 3. Hey, Dan Wilkins has 3, and he almost tied it last week at Daytona, but he ended up finishing 4th, and his teammate Ian Korob went to victory lane. So a little different, but now Korob has 3 wins, so he's tied with Adema, and basically everybody else who also has 3 wins. And I think that's even it, though. I think it's Adema, Daniel, and no, it would be Ryan Adema. I'm just doing the math in my head right now. Ryan Adema, Dan Wilkins. Who am I missing? Ian Korob, and then also Ben Lloyd. Ben Lloyd from Season 1 got 3 wins, one at Pocono, one at Martinsville, and one at Sonoma for wins number 1, 2, and 3, and his only career wins. And then, of course, who are they looking to beat? They're looking to beat Abel DeMarco, who has 4 career wins and is your Season 1 champion. Returned part-time in Season 2, but is not returning for Season 3. He's moved on to other opportunities. Now, Adema loses the lead here with 12 to go, but Creed Daniel and Kyle Driscoll... Kyle Driscoll's got a bit of an incentive to win this race, too, because of the fact that he's, got this hometown feel to it, because he's from Tallahassee. And so is Ryan. I mean, these top 2 drivers are both Floridians. And then Creed Daniels out here from Naperville, Illinois, just like, yeah, I'm here. And then Chase Buck's here from, from something, Georgia. And then Charlotte Kelly is from Connecticut. So, and then Sarah Fang, Virginia Beach, Virginia. So, there you go. But Adema's back in the lead. Creed Daniel all the way up against the wall. He does not hit the wall. They're 3 wide behind him in a fierce battle for second, but Ryan Adema leads with 10 laps to go now from the Royal Caribbean 400. Kyle Driscoll in second. I mean, Kyle Driscoll did pretty well during last season's inaugural race at Daytona for what was then called the Daytona 250, but this year it's a little bit different because it's, you know, it's Homestead. And there's also a lot of different teams that are competing, and, you know, it wasn't just all 4-car super teams. Sarah Fang jumping from 3rd to 2nd, and now Jackson Snyder could be some competition, could be some trouble. They're all going to move up high except for Chase and Charlotte. They're all essentially going to get backed up. They're going to get backed up like a Chipotle quesarito gets backed up. So right now the top 3 is isolated from the rest of them. And Creed Daniel, oh man, I feel bad for Creed Daniel. He was in 5th. Now look, even Leland Hill is going to try to pass him. Look at this. From 5th to 8th. 3 positions lost. That's not just 3 positions. If you lost 3 positions on a super speedway race, you'd probably be fine. If you lose 3 positions on a wide field like this, look how far out they're spread out. He just went from being in contention to being 2.5 seconds behind the leader. So take that as you will. Also, while I had the chance before the race ended, I wanted to show what Armin Salvador's rear bumper looks like. Let's take a look at the 65 view, if we can get close enough. I don't think we can get close enough. Ah, darn. Yeah, I don't think we can. What we're going to do instead is we're going to take a look at Armin's cockpit camera. Although, he is getting a little bit closer. You might be able to see it. If not, I can always show it in the next race. But let's take a look at Armin's cockpit. Or did he update it? He updated it. Armin used to have a wheel that said, you know, be a better driver. I remember it was something along those lines, but I'll have to show it to you guys later. In any case, the 2 Floridians are running 1-2. Ryan Adema 1st, Kyle Driscoll 2nd, Sarah Fang 3rd, Chase Buck back in 4th, and then Nelson Reeves looking for his first top 5 of the year. Although Armin Salvador might be able to take it away, and this is actually a perfect time to take a look at it. There it is. Oh. He's going to end up passing 52. Not so great timing then, huh? See, it'll be coming up here. Yeah, it says on the back bumper, it says use your brakes, dummy. That's what it says. Ryan Adema looking for his 4th career win. Right now we're at 4 laps to go. We'll be coming to 3 to go this time by, as the pack is single file, but that's what Adema likes. He likes being the leader. He doesn't want to have to, you know, try to push through the pack. Even though Adema was the pole sitter today, he had to work for a lot of his ground because he lost a lot of it, especially after that first round of yellow flag pit stops and who stayed out, who, you know, went in for service. Now Kyle Driscoll on the inside. This reminds me a lot of that MSCECR finish from just a few days ago. They were side by side. Now there's 2 laps to go. Sarah Fang in the picture, possibly trying to make room on the inside. There's Kyle Driscoll taking the lead away. He's on that outside line, which is not ideal. We saw the same thing last week, where the inside line was a lot more serviceable to the driver. As Kyle Driscoll's up the track, he's looking for his first career win in the Modern Stock Car Cup Tour. Sarah Fang's going to take him back. White flag, 1 more lap to go. They're side by side at the line. Oh my goodness. Here comes Ryan Adema on the inside. Sarah Fang only has 1 career win, and that was at Phoenix to start the second half last season. Adema's on the inside. Could this be a good finish? Adema's in front. He slides up the track. Chase Buck is on the inside. The 2 former teammates duke it out at the line, and Ryan Adema wins at Homestead. He ties the all-time record for most wins in the Modern Stock Car Cup Tour with 4 career victories. Man, it feels kind of weird having less than half the field finish the race, but hey, can't always get what you want, right? So the top 10 as we finish today are Ryan Adema, Chase Buck, the two former teammates finished 1-2, Sarah Feng in 3rd, Kyle Driscoll, the Floridian, in 4th, Creed Daniel in 5th, then Armin Salvador, Nelson Reeves just missing out on the top 10, Charlotte Kelly, Leland Hill in his first career start getting a top 10, and Adeline Galvin rounding it out. And there's there's Christian Coppola on pit lane, still finishing 25th with 68 laps down. 1 lap short of the nice number. In any case, I'm way too immature. In any case, this is Dan Wilkins signing off for now. Ryan Adema ties the all-time wins record. We'll see you guys next week at Atlanta Motor Speedway for the SunTrust 400.